Hello and welcome back to the Motorhome Review channel. Today I'm at Overbrook Caravan Park in North Yorkshire, and for the last few days I've been testing out this, and now I'm going to give you an in-depth review. This review will be more detailed than normal because I've actually had some proper experience. So what exactly is this? Well, this is the Malibu I 430 KB LE lightweight. Malibu has a number of models on integrated and semi-integrated. This has been my first experience of an integrated or A-class motorhome. Never tried one before, done lots of reviews, so I've actually got some real testing time with this, and I'm going to tell you whether I prefer semi or integrated. Right, let's dive in though and find out a bit more about it. So first of all, the Malibu Integrated range is available on Fiat or Mercedes. This one here is Fiat. You'll know the Fiat because it will have a Malibu badge here, whereas on Mercedes it will have a Mercedes badge. Equally on the wheels, these are the Fiat alloy wheels. If you opt for the Mercedes, it will have the Mercedes styling on the wheels. So on the Fiat, if you opt for a Malibu Integrated motorhome, on Fiat, you'll get the 2.2 litre diesel engine, 140 horsepower and manual transmission as standard. This one here has the automatic transmission fitted. With Malibu, there's a lot of extras. The base price of the 430 is around £93,000 with delivery fee included. However, once you spec it up, it's a little bit more. I spec mine, this one, and it was 110,000. This one here, from Maple Leisure, who've loaned us this demo vehicle, is around 115,000. So it gives you an idea of those prices once you put the bits on. It's worth noting this is a 2025 model. There are changes for 2026 and I'll talk about those as we go around. So I've told you it's based on Fiat and the bits and pieces around that. Let's talk for now about facts and figures. So the 430 is one of the smallest in the range. It's 6 metres and 85 centimetres long. It's 2 metres and 17 centimetres wide, so it's classed as a compact motorhome in width, and it's 2 metres and 97 in height. Now, if you have it on Mercedes, it will be slightly longer in length, but those are the sizes for Fiat. Now, it's quite interesting because when Jules and I picked this up, I'm going to be honest, after driving it a short way back to our house, I said, that isn't 2 metres and 17 centimetres wide. I've had a compact motorhome before, and that definitely didn't feel it. So we actually got our tape measure out. We stood on the drive and we measured it. And what I have ascertained is the 2 metres and 17 centimetres width is from sidewall to sidewall. And here at the front on the mask, yes, 2 metres 17. However, if you head around the rear and start measuring with the bumpers, 2 metres and 24 centimetres. So I would say realistically, if you're thinking about parking on your drive or you are looking at a genuine compact motorhome, 2 metres 24 is the width size that you want to be looking at, but it's always good to actually know. However, I must say, having driven it obviously here to North Yorkshire, it's very agile, lovely to drive in that respect. Now, chassis. So this one is the 3.5 tonne chassis. You'll see here it says lightweight, and with it being 3.5 tonne gross vehicle weight, you can drive this on your car licence. So Jules has been able to drive this one. You can opt for this on the Comfort chassis, which is a 4.2 tonne chassis, and that's available on Fiat and Mercedes as well. But you would need the C1 category on your driving licence, so bear that in mind. But I'll put a link in the description to the Malibu website so you can check out both. So those are our sizes and that's our weight. Let's just talk about payload. The absolute basic vehicle on a 3.5 tonne chassis says on paper you should get around 570 kilos with a bit of tolerance either side. When I spec mine up on the configurator, I had just over 400 kilos. This one here from Maple Leisure, which has got a lot of kit on it, I'll say that for it, payload of around 350 kilos on this 3.5 tonne chassis. That's still a doable payload. I've done that myself on another motorhome. As a couple, you will just about get away with 350 kilos payload if you're careful. If it's going to be an issue for you, think about that Comfort chassis. Right, on we go. So The integrated styling, I've really liked this. When you look out of the window to drive, I've called it my basically view of the world. It's fabulous. You just see out. It's the window to the world. The only thing I've noticed is I have had intrusion of my view from this pillar, and this wing mirror, and same on my near side. So bear that in mind. The view is limited in parts by these, particularly at junctions and roundabouts. But in terms of compared to a semi-integrated, the view out's phenomenal. I also found there's a lot more headroom in the cab when I'm driving because we've got that bed instead of a cab. So lots more headroom. However, that does make it a little bit more difficult to gauge the height. I know I'm just under 3 meters, I know that on paper, but when you're going under trees, it's often nice to be able to look up and see the actual height. And I've found I didn't have that with the integrated and the bed. But that said, yes, love it. Right, continuing down. So this one, Fiat, the Fiat alloy wheels. Another feature I like though, instead of it just being a plain cap, here it's Malibu, so that's embossed there. The coach style wing mirrors, these are heated as well on this particular one. Phenomenal in terms of the view on near side and off side. Continuing down, so up on the roof, Maple have fitted a solar panel. That isn't standard, but it has been fitted. You will standard though get a lithium battery on the lightweight chassis. That's to keep the weight down. So lithium is standard. The awning, now the awning is an optional extra. If you have it factory fitted, it's around £1,600, I believe. There's 3 length options. This is the 4.5 metre length in anthracite. From what I can gather, if you order from the factory, you only have the option of anthracite. So if you wanted white or black, get your dealer to fit it instead. Habitation door is on the offside. I prefer the offside if I'm honest. I've always had European motorhomes. I like this. I know it's not for everyone, but I like it. This is also the extra large door by Malibu, so a wider width. It works on the central locking. There is an awning light as well. Now the graphics or the decals, these are the 2025 season graphics. For 2026, it looks quite different. I prefer the newer graphics as well, so have a look on the website. It'll give you an idea of what the new graphics are like. I'm just going to show you one more feature, so I'll just dive in. We do have an electric step here, so I'll deploy my 2-lay step and then I'll just dive in a second. So also here, you'll notice I haven't got a cab door. What I do have though is this sliding window. I called it my ice cream hatch. I don't think Malibu will be calling it an ice cream hatch, but this is brilliant. When I've arrived on site and had to talk to the site team, slide it open. I love that. So let me close it up. So that's my little ice cream hatch. As I've just mentioned, there is no cab door. If you had a left-hand drive, obviously you'd have a cab door. We'll talk about that when we go around the other side. So what I did do at a petrol station, because Jules was in the passenger seat on that occasion, I actually used the habitation door to get out instead of Jules having to move. So that's something to think about on these integrated models. You'll notice, well, there's a nice amount of ground clearance all the way along on the Malibu. That's been good, because on this campsite when we arrived, there was a bit of undulation, and I was quite happy that we had this ground clearance. There's also a good amount of ground clearance here on the overhang, so if you're worried about ferries and things like that, no issue there. So we've talked about the solar panel that's been fitted as an option, the awning that's as an option, the vent here for our tower fridge and freezer, which we'll see, and the vent for the Truma. Now, on board, Truma 6E air-blown heating. This will work off gas if you're off grid, or you can use it when you're hooked up as well, as I did last night, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, or it'll run off electric. On some of the models, you can add Alder wet central heating. I don't believe Alder can be fitted on the lightweight models. It certainly, as far as I can see, can't be fitted on the 430. So again, if you're going for the comfort chassis, the 4.2 tonne, you may well want to consider the Alder. I prefer the Alder myself, but again, up to you. So Truma air-blown heating. You can operate this, as I say, solely off electric, or you can use gas as well, or instead of. We found when we first got in this and arrived on site yesterday, it obviously hasn't been used. It's a brand new motorhome. It's just been pre-registered. We found we did have to run it through on gas the first time to get that heat through, but then on electric it seemed to perform quite well, and it was very quiet. It wasn't too bad at all. So that's the Truma. Then we have our electric hookup point. The grey waste dump is actually just under here. You'll have a 90 litre grey waste tank. The dump for that is inside. I'll show you that when we move inside. And then, now this is phenomenal. You're going to have to be really careful of your rear axle, I think, on a 3.5 tonne vehicle. You should be okay on the comfort, but oh, look at this. So this is the one thing I've always liked with Malibu, these phenomenal sized garage spaces. And what I do like as well is the door is on this strut here, so it's nice and firm. It's not just blowing back at me. It feels nicely supported. A huge garage space, absolutely fabulous. And this is why I say you just need to be careful of what you're putting in there, because I think you'd be encouraged to fill it. So do be careful of your weights. Always go to a weighbridge. There's a plug socket, there's a light, and here, this is an optional extra. It's the external shower point as well. But as garages go, fabulous. If I had the 4-point-ton, I mean, to be fair, even on 3.5 tonne, you should still be able to get your e-bikes with 350 kilos of payload. I mean, you may have more. You may have up to 570 if you don't put a load of extras on it. Back end. Now, there are some changes again for 2026 on the back end. On here, this is the 2025 light cluster with the back end. For 2026, there's the new dynamic design rear end. It has a black trim around it, so some changes here. Rear view camera. This is an optional extra. This is a fabulous camera. It's good when you're actually reversing, but it's also a proper rear view camera. So when you're driving along, there's a screen to the right-hand side of your steering wheel, so you can always see what's going on behind you. But the rest of the rear, we've got the Malibu logo, and it is a solid white finish. The lightweight there as well. And when Jules and I say we measured from bumper to bumper, and that's where we got our measurements of 2 meters and 24. Right, I'll head off down the near side. So down here, a second garage door, and then the gas locker. 2 large gas bottles will fit in here. The good thing fitted on this one is the slide out as well. Pull this up and this slides out. The one at Maple has been fitted with a gas low bottle, so speak to your dealer about what you want to fit. You can put your Cala in there, you can put your safe fill. This has just had the gas low fitted. I was very pleased to have that last night, and I'll tell you why. Because we ran out of electric. There's metered electric on this pitch, and we didn't know how much electric we were going to use, in total honesty. And at midnight it cut out, and I woke up at 3 AM absolutely frozen. So what I did was I jumped up and I put the Truma straight onto gas, and it pulled it through beautifully. Because it's got a lithium battery as well, the Truma was pumping nicely. It didn't particularly draw much on that battery. I was a bit worried. I got a bit of range anxiety, but yeah, so I have tested the heating fully on electric and gas. Next up, water filling point. On board, a 125 litre fresh water tank to complement that grey waste. Then a toilet cassette point. Now this has also been fitted, let me push these open, with a SOG ventilation. So it's your normal Thetford toilet, your normal cassette, but there's a pipe here. That feeds out and vents out on the roof. That's SOG ventilation. And what that does is it takes the smell from your toilet and it basically gets rid of it up there. I've never tried a SOG toilet. That is a bit of a game changer, if I'm honest. I wondered why I couldn't smell the loo, and it's because of that system. So if I had the option now, knowing what I know, that would be a yes for me. SOG ventilation, very, very good. Then, this is nice, we've got storage under the motorhome. If I just drop this down. Now, it's quite interesting in that you'll see right back there, well, you'll see there's actually a drawer. You access that from inside. It's under the bench seat. It's got some shoes in at the moment. Then there's this drop down part here. Again, you can access that from inside, so I will show you that. Just be really careful, because if you access from inside and put anything valuable in there, just remember, if somebody pries this door open, they can get in to the items you put there. So that's just something to be mindful of. But excellent storage under here. I brought our air fryer, and I brought this because this is a brand new motorhome. I don't want to be using the oven. I want to keep it new. So I brought that along just to plug it in. and cook with that outside. So that's how thoughtful I am, but that's why but it fits really well there actually. So if you bring in an air fryer, that goes in there. So that's one of the storage compartments. Really like that as well. And then the diesel tank. That fills here along with AdBlue. You can have an optional 90-litre diesel tank. So if you do go further afield and you don't particularly want to be stopping off, you can have that. But be mindful that the larger the tank, the more weight you'll be putting in if you fill your tank, and that'll come off that payload. And then we've got our cab door here. Say there's only the one cab door on the near side. If you had a left-hand drive, or you were in Europe buying a left-hand drive, this is perfectly practicable. For our market, you just have to bear in mind, if you've got a passenger, they either need to get out or they need to move. But it's really nice. It's nicely finished. All the windows have blinds. They're not electronic, they are manual, but they come down at the front and then they come across at the sides. Nicely finished, lots of chrome. I've been polishing that like my life depends on it, because I've got a thing about fingerprints. Electric window, nice wood finish here, and we'll see more of the interior when we go in, because the interior finish is absolutely fabulous. We've got our chairs turned round. There's a huge choice of upholstery. I'll tell you about that inside. But what's been good is in the dashboard, there's loads of little cubby holes, even here as well. There's a little cubby here and somewhere to put your drink. I've got the same over on that offside driver's side. So yeah, and dive straight in and obviously off you go. So that is the exterior of the Malibu I430 KBLE. We've talked about the sizes. We've talked about how much it's going to cost you and the weights and what have you, and the bits and pieces outside that I've particularly liked. The integrated, it's grown on me. Right, let's dive inside, because there's some good things in here that I want to show you as well. Inside the Malibu, let's make a start. Now, some of the things I'm going to show you in here are optional extras. However, a lot of it is standard equipment, but let's make a start. The interior and the view out, our window to the world in the integrated. And this is what I've loved. I've loved it, and I've also had a bit of a about it, because I love that when I'm sat here, it's a beautiful day. You've got this fabulous view out, but equally everyone's got a fabulous view in. And the Malibu doesn't seem to have very tinted windows all around actually. It's very visible from the outside, but the view is fabulous. Now, in terms of blinds, there is a blind up here that you pull down. It's a manual blind, and then there's blinds on each side. What I have found is this huge windscreen does seem to also be a bit of an issue in cold weather, because we have had cold nights, and I found we have had quite a lot of heat loss out of that large windscreen. This is another thing to think about with integrated. You can obviously get windscreen covers for the exterior or interior, so that might be something just to think about, but you do have heat loss from the window. But that said, the view out's fabulous, and the benefit of integrated over semi-integrated is, even sat here in the cab, this headroom here, I don't feel like I'm cocooned in a cab. I feel like I'm already in part of the motorhome, and that plays out with these flush side walls running down each side. So that's been an absolute positive. The next thing to move on to is this lounge or seating area. Now, the one thing Malibu always do really well, and I've always said this in my reviews, is this seating area. Now, motorhomes generally are known for not being the most comfortable of places. However, this has been a real exception for us trying it out. The motorhome, well under 7 metres, yet there's absolutely no compromise in this lounge. There's the L-shaped wraparound, and not only is it across the back, it comes all the way fully down here. So this is fabulous for getting your feet up, whether you sat on that seat or in the captain's chairs. We've had the chairs swivelled. I've actually found, unusually, normally when I'm in our motorhome, I tend to sit on the side seats. However, I've been really enjoying sitting in my captain's chair, and then had my feet up on there if needs be. This is really well bolstered as well. I've been sitting on here in the morning, and I found this incredibly comfy. So in terms of this lounge space, this is absolutely fabulous. You may well be looking at the fabric and thinking, crikey, not sure about that colour. I'll be honest, I think this blue colour is a little bit cold. Now, the good thing is with Malibu, you've got a huge choice of fabrics. So if you go on the configurator, you can see all of those choices. But the armrests are covered as well. They're nicely contoured seats. Interesting though, What Jules noticed, more so in the passenger side when he was travelling in this seat, was unlike a semi-integrated motorhome where you feel you've got like somewhere to put your arm and you're a little bit more cocooned, in the integrated, because you haven't got that, you've got a lot of space around you when the seat is turned for travelling. He felt he didn't feel quite as secure almost. So that was another interesting feature that we've discovered. Right, let me sort of make my way now into a bit further into the motorhome. Another great feature of the integrated is it's all one floor level. Now this is the concrete effect flooring. You can choose the carpet option. I've actually just left a little bit of the carpet down. This one here from Maple has got the carpet option and I've left that in the cab. It's not those beige bits, that was left in for Jules and I for testing it, but this is the carpet that comes as part of the pack. I've never chosen carpets, to be honest. I've never put mine down. That's a real personal preference. So lounge area, table. It is a fixed table and it's not the telescopic leg. It is the fixed table and it's not foldable. What you do to move it is you push the button and then you can turn it 360 and you can slide it around as well. It will take up to 5 people seated in this area. So that's been our table. We found this has probably been one of the best places to have it. You can still get round it and you can still move around it for seating. Down here under the seat there is a plug and there's also a USB charger. Now they're dotted about around the Malibu. I don't know whether there's any differences on 2026, but on 2025 it's the USB-A. There's no USB-C that I found in these places, and that in this day and age I would like to see USB-C, but whether that's on 2026 I don't know. I'd have to go and have a look, so just consider that depending on which year model you're looking at. So that's our table and our seating area. Now let's move up. This is a 4-berth motorhome with 4 travel seats. The first of the berths is here. This is a manual pull-down bed. It's 190 centimetres long, 160 centimetres wide. When dropped down, you do have to drop the captain's chairs for the full operation. Drop those down, pull down the bed, and this is a really good sized double bed. You'll also notice running underneath it, we have the mood lighting strip and the LEDs. These operate separately as well. We've got all the lights going so you can obviously see them. This is a leather effect finish here. This is a nice finish. And then there is a small cupboard space here on the near side, not here on the off side though, above the driver. In terms of these spaces and the cabinetry, this is the 2025 season finish. 2026 now has 2 choices. You can either have a light wood effect or white cabinets. Again, I'll put a link to Malibu in the description so you can look at the new 2026 finish. The styling's still very much similar though, but different colours on there. And as I say, you can already choose your fabrics as well. Storage, now this is good. Under here, there is a small storage compartment there, so you can put shoes and items. And then under the travel seat facing forward, there's also some storage. So if I just pull this, now this doesn't do what you expect. You lift this clasp here and it is actually going to slide outwards. So it doesn't pull towards you, it slides out. Those are our playing out shoes, so please don't judge us on those. Those are our going for a shower shoes. So they're under there. Not particularly nice to look at, I appreciate, but for purpose of demonstration, that's your shoe cupboard. I was a bit sceptical when I opened it up. I thought, you're not going to get many shoes in there, but you can, and Jules has size 12 feet, so you can get some big shoes in there. Now, if you do want to use it to take passengers, or you are using it as a 4-berth, the seat belts, there's a seat belt in that corner, it attaches down there, and there's actually a seat belt hidden in here. You pull that down on from the Velcro, and then you've got another 2 travel seats. So yeah, fabulous. Right, let's move along. I'll slide this way and change over from Jules. Now the habitation door and the offside. So as you come in, there's the Malibu coat hooks. I do like, again, the Malibu logo embossed here. Leather finish on this wall and then complemented by the wood. And on 2025 you have the cream gloss. I love gloss personally. You will get the fly screen and that extra large door that I mentioned. This has been a bonus. Jules is particularly like this, being a larger person. He's found this much easier for access. Malibu logo, and again we've got more coat hooks, so when you come in there's plenty of places for coats. This is your control panel. Now I must say, personally, I don't know whether 2026 is updated, but I think this is just a little bit out of sorts with the rest of the Malibu. It's like a clear plastic. I'll pull that up and we have our control panel. This is really easy to use. I've enjoyed this. Turn it on and you're going to have your front screen. It tells you basically your resources, battery level, gas, water, amber there because we are a little bit low on fresh, but everything else is in the green. Our interior temperature, 20 degrees Celsius. Press the unlock screen and you're into your controls. And it's literally resources is going to give you the information again on your battery, your gas and your water. Switches, water pump, various other controls. Very, very simple to use. Everything's controlled off one panel. I've had no issues with that. Really good. Also, you do have the Truma control, the iNet, and you can control other features of your Malibu by connecting it to that. I believe that is an optional extra, but nonetheless, that might be handy for those of you that do enjoy your gadgets. Now what I'll do, I'm just going to take us down to floor level before I move across. So here, now if you do fit the carpets, you're going to very much struggle to get into these lockers. When I first packed the Malibu, when you get a new motorhome, you sort of judge it based on what you're used to. And at first I thought, there's a lack of storage here. But then I had to take into account, it's under 7 metres long. And when you look at storage like this, that's when you suddenly realise you have actually got more storage than you think. If I just push those, and I'll lift this up. Now, when we were outside, I showed you the locker to the near side, and I said it went all the way through and you could access it internally. This is the internal space. So here, there is a large storage locker. It is polystyrene lined at the bottom by the look of it. And then you have these white sides. When putting items in here, be mindful that people can access it from that outside. What I have found though with this, and this is again something that I found because I've been testing it, is underneath it doesn't appear insulated from the exterior. It looks like it is this white case. And when on a sunny day, daylight really shines brightly through into here. And I have been able to see that through the bench seat just down there. There's a line where that bench drawer joins. So that's quite unusual. That was just something that I did notice. You'll find that there's Truma air-blown pipes running through the floor as well. There's one just here and there's one just behind me. Now, it does not have underfloor heating. However, what Malibu do say is it has an underfloor heating effect. And that's because the heat's coming through those pipes and obviously up through your floor. We've had the carpets down and I'll be honest, with the heating on, I haven't noticed that effect. I have taken the carpets up now and I can feel some slight warmth in certain places. So it's not underfloor heating, but if you had it really ramped up in cold weather and it was on for a while, I'd imagine you will feel warm air coming up through the floor, and that heat will also keep this locker space warm and further back that I'll show you. Now down here, there's a couple of dump valves. When you want to dump your grey waste and your fresh water to empty those tanks, the valves are here. And this is your Truma frost protection. In cold weather, your Truma hot water tank will dump at around about 4 degrees and below. If you're using your motorhome, it'll be nice and warm, so it won't dump on you. If you've had it parked up, it will, and you will have to reset it, and that's where it needs to be. So if you're filling your motorhome, your Malibu, with cold water on first run out, and it's pouring out from underneath, there's a good chance, if it's been cold, your Truma's dumped itself, and that's where you reset it. Right, let me put this back down. It's got some really nice, strong clasps as well. So put that down there and down there. Now, before I move on, let's talk about some storage in the lounge area. Here we have a great storage cupboard here. Jules has got his laptop up there. The good thing with these cupboards is as well, the back wall there, the cream colour, that's actually padded. That will help with insulation and it will help with soundproofing as well. So that's good there. And then some light switches underneath. One thing I'll say about Malibu is the light switches are just where you want to find them and they're not overly complicated. Some motorhomes have now got light functions on the panel. I know ours does. There's lights in strange places. You've got to do weird things. It's not intuitive. This, however, you look for the switch, it's where you want to find it. So that's excellent. There's also a couple of speakers under here. and the speakers in the cab as well. The sound system is average. It's a Fiat sound system, certainly at the front. Now this motorhome that we've been testing has got the television pack as well. If I press this and slide this out, there's a fabulous 24-inch television. Now one thing we've found is generally you're going to have to sit at the front to watch it, but nice television here. I think that might actually be a 32-inch, to be totally honest. The fax I had said 24, but I think that's potentially a 32. There is also a remote control, and that television connects to Wi-Fi. But yeah, how easy is that? You're not having to slide it about, and this part here, as you can see as I close it, joins there. I like that. So yeah, that's impressed Jules as well. Coming across, we'll just go across the ceiling. There's a large sunroof here in the lounge area. There's a blind and a fly screen. So that is a fabulous sunroof. And then the ceiling. Now, one thing I would have liked to have seen is a padded ceiling at this price point. It isn't, it's the solid ceiling. And you do find you have the tape lines down it as well. There's a lot of good LED lighting in this ceiling though. So that's a bonus. Now let's make our way into the kitchen. Now, this again, motorhome, 6 metres 85. The kitchen is pretty well equipped. There's just one thing that I personally think could maybe be rethought, but let's start into the kitchen area. So as it is, this is our worktop space. Now on this one, because we've got the KB model, we have this kitchen sink cover. You take this out and it slots in there. So one, that means I don't have to worry about where to put it. And two, this will act as a shelf. So you can put bits on there. There's a plug here as well, so you can plug items in. Just be careful you put anything hot on there. These bits here. A further kitchen light switch here. So this is fabulous, really good. It does give you more worktop space. Circular sink, chrome tap. The rest of your worktop space here. Now you can always use the table in the lounge. Lifting this up though, if you are using your hob, all of a sudden you have lost all of your worktop. And there's 3 gas burners here. I think this is a little bit over the top. I think 2 gas burners cut across there would have been more than sufficient. Obviously, let me know what you think, but I think it's rare that people will be using 3 gas burners. So I think if it had been cut across, we'd have got our worktop space back. And the little knobs there sometimes can be a little bit fiddly to get your hand in. But that's the gas hob. And that's my only feedback on that part. I'll just slide this back as we work our way around the kitchen. Now there is a nice size window, blind and fly screen. What you will notice is all the blinds are the plastic type. This is very common on European motorhomes. The benefit of these over concertina is they tend not to let light in through the sides. So that is a bonus of that style blind. Storage. Now, there are some of my bits and pieces in here because obviously we're away testing this at the moment. We've got 2 shelves here. These have been good. This one, as you can see, is tall enough for the kettle. This here is a coffee machine. This is an optional extra. So it's up to you. If you like coffee, you can maybe have one of these fitted. If not, you could just bring your own. Totally, again, up to you. And then it's open here, so you can get higher items there. And we've got the cream padding at the back as well. When you close these, make sure you do push the clasp down, because otherwise, I'll just demonstrate this. Push the clasp down, it closes perfectly. If you don't, you'll find this. Bit of a clunk. So just use your clasps and look after your motorhome. The chrome, I've been cleaning it regularly. I do love it, but it does take a good clean every day. Moving down, so plenty of drawer space. Now this one hasn't got a cutlery tray. Whether it does come with one and it's just not being put in, I don't know. But the thing that's missing for me here is the cutlery tray, but I would imagine you should be getting one. Soft close, these little clasps, I find these a little bit fiddly. You pop them, then you'll see there is a little bit of movement there. And then second drawer, I won't show you my banana and wraps for too long. And then down here, another one. So in terms of the storage here, that's good. Very pleased with that for the size of the motorhome. And this, the cream gloss. 2026 though, you've got the wood or the white. Moving across, your gas control. This is where you isolate your gas under there, so that isn't storage. And then we move down to a Thetford gas oven and grill. This is an optional extra. It's been fitted to this one from Maple, the demo model. Gas oven and grill. And then underneath, the bin store. Now again, I've got potentially a bit of feedback on this. So when you slide this open, you've got this drawer space. This is the bin. You actually pull this out. There's a small compartment here and then a longer drop down there. Now, for me personally, I would rather have had a larger bin store altogether. Some people may like to separate the waste, but these have been such small compartments, I've not really been able to get much in them before I need to empty it. I think either, because there's a good amount of storage in here, so either make it one big bin compartment or make this one big bin compartment. I imagine this is a little bit shallower because of what's underneath there, but that's my only feedback, is just a bigger bin. Do something on that space. However, it's lovely to see the bin concealed there instead of in the door. So that's the kitchen space up to that point. What I'll do, I'll talk about the Dometic Tower fridge and freezer, and then we'll talk about this door. So on the off side, we have a slimline Dometic Tower fridge and freezer. It's the style that opens on either side. So if I open this up, it does also have a freezer compartment. This style, it pulls out sidewards. It doesn't pull down. So you can see in there our freezer and then the fridge. And I have got salad. You all think that I just eat ice creams and cakes and fish and chips, but I have got some salad in there. I haven't eaten it as yet though, as you'll notice. So that is the Dometic Tower fridge and freezer. When you are on electric hookup, set it, I generally, with my fridge, I always set it to auto and it will select the type of fuel it finds. So if you are on electric hookup and you're on auto, it will automatically default to the electric hookup on an absorption fridge, which is what this is. If you had a power cut or you unhook and you go for a day out or whatever you're doing, it will then default to gas. Once you are driving and you're on the road, it'll default to the leisure battery, the 12-volt system there. So it will automatically find what you need. So my advice is put it on auto and it'll sort itself out. So that's that. Under here, if you're wondering what's here, the Truma heater, I believe, appears to be under here. And these vents, when you put your Truma air-blown heating on, you'll hear the noise come through there. Not the actual air blowers, that's the actual heater itself. Talking about the air blowers, I would have liked a few more air vents. Again, we've tested out the Truma. There's a vent here, there's a vent in the bathroom, there's a couple of vents under that seat and then one at the front. We've tested it out at various levels. When it got very cold the other night, we found really we were having to give it a bit of a boost on gas as well. So that's the only reason I'm saying I think I'd have just liked a couple more vents. And it is the Truma 6, so it's, you know, it should be more than capable. In terms of the comfort chassis, you can opt for the Alder wet central heating, so that might be another option. Right, let's just look upwards. So above the kitchen, we have another sunroof. This opens, a blind and a fly screen. And then before we go back to the bedroom, I'm just going to talk about this system. Now, you'll notice this is a really big door. This is fabulous. I've been really impressed with the size of the motorhome, which I keep going on about, but I've been so impressed because you've got huge beds back here, which we'll come to, a massive lounge, a really well-equipped kitchen, and then this washroom. There are very few compromises. However, what I'll show you with this door, so when you want to create a dressing room space, which you'll see from this side soon, you bring this door across and that produces a fabulous dressing room space back here. The one thing is though, because of the length of the door, you'll notice there's quite a gap here. So you do need to close your kitchen blind, otherwise people potentially could see in. So that was just one thing. And I think that's obviously just to do with the length of the door here and it meeting here. It connects on this plate. This is a magnetic plate. And then it connects across there. So that was the only thing. And you can lock it into place though, if you see there. So if you don't want your partner to venture back or your kids, you can lock them out. So yeah, but otherwise fabulous. I'll talk about the bedroom space and then we'll look into there and this dressing room, because that's been, Jules and I both commented, that's been fabulous. Bedroom space. So the KBLE is the longitudinal bed model, or single beds, as people in the UK tend to call them. These are an excellent length. There's no compromise whatsoever. Jules has slept on the near side. This is 200 centimetres long and it's 85 centimetres wide. This one on the offside is 190 centimetres long and 85 centimetres wide. So even if you are tall, these should be more than adequate for nearly anybody. Mattresses, you can actually see the mattress here in this centre cushion. These have been very comfortable. Again, we've been impressed with those. We have left the plastic on because obviously we're just testing this out, but very comfortable. We normally have duvets. We haven't brought them for this trip. And I think just with the duvet sleeping bag on top of here, it would be a phenomenal sleeping experience. If you want to make it into one large double bed, there is a further cushion, which is just under here. I'll show you that. That slots in here and this pulls out. So these are the steps. I'll just climb up and demonstrate it first of all. So if you're using them as singles, there you go. You've climbed up onto your bed, either side. Be careful if you have got big feet. They're not the biggest of steps, but just be careful of that. To get down, the method I tend to use is putting my weight on the bed and then clamber down. If you are using it as a bigger bed, there's a latch here. You can pull that in there and then slide out your step. You'll see then you've got further, it comes out further, but for the purpose of demonstration, cushion goes in there and you've got a massive bed and you've still got your steps to climb up. So this is really well thought out. I like that. Let me slide that back in and then what I'll do, I'll clamber up, we'll talk about this area and then we'll go and look at the storage down there. Right, up we come. It's worth mentioning as well what Jules and I have been doing on a night when I've talked about Truma and the heating. We've had our partition door closed because we're both back here and we've got a vent here and then a vent in the bathroom. This space has got really warm. The cab area, because it's got fewer vents and it's got the windows, that's been a much colder area. And the thermostat, I can only find one thermostat and that is in the front. So if you set it at a certain temperature, let's say 15 degrees, and it's making the cab 15 degrees, you could be nearer 20 back here. So if you like it cold on a night, definitely drop the front down. So that's one thing I've noticed. Whether I've just not seen a control for two thermostats, but I don't think I've missed anything. So that's just something to be aware of. Right, let me dive over here. Television back here. There is a television point and a plug socket. So you could fit a television bracket on that wooden side panel. Now storage, again, I mentioned about storage. There is a good amount of overhead locker space. And while I'm here, I'm going to talk about another feature, because one thing I wanted to know about when we put our first video out about the Malibu was Malibu build quality. I'm going to talk about rattles when I finish the review, but Malibu build quality, because this is a premium motorhome. That's how they market themselves. That price point is definitely premium, and the motorhomes it's putting itself up against are also premium. So in terms of general build quality, we've been impressed. I'd say general build, I'm giving the Malibu an 8 out of 10. There's a couple of things that have brought that down, and one of those for me has just been this ceiling. I would like to have seen a nice padded ceiling that will give us additional soundproofing and also insulation. So that is just one thing. But the general build is very good. Everything lines up nicely. When you look at the lockers, they're all lining up. They're not buffing against each other. The clasps are generally good. Another thing that maybe I'm deducting a little bit are those pushing clasps that I showed you in the kitchen. A little bit rattly and a little bit fiddly. And maybe I would have liked something a little bit more solid. But in terms of the finish, again in here, we've got the fabric finish here on the walls. This is what I would have liked up here. But one thing I have noticed is on all the cupboards, there's these little foam pads. Now, obviously these foam pads are to reduce shakes and rattles when you are driving. And it's quite unusual to see this number of pads in a motorhome. So that was a little bit unusual. But in terms of overall build quality, I would say Malibu does deliver on their promise of being a premium manufacturer. This is much higher than most of the motorhomes that I do go into. So let's leave this at that. Yes, I've proven to myself that Malibu do have a very good build quality. Now back here, you can have optional cushion packs. This one from Maple has got the cushion pack. Now, when I first collected the motorhome, I saw the metal sort of little hooks along the back there. I don't know if you can see them. There's 4 of them. And I did wonder, what are those for? My mind just boggled at that point. Anyway, I know what they're for because I went digging. These cushions. So what you do, you may be able to see on there's a couple of little press study clasps. You actually put these cushions along the back there and then you press stud it in, and they're almost like a headrest. I haven't used them because this is a brand new motorhome, so I haven't got them out, but that's what they're for. You've actually got little headrests. I think that's really nice. So that's what that's about. Now at the back there's a mirrored strip. That is making this motorhome feel longer than it actually is. That is lovely, I like that. Then there's a little leathered finish here, and under the bed, under my side and what's been Jules's side, there's a little LED downlighter. It looks like a little trumpet. Look at it, and they do move, my little trumpet light. So if I pop that back up, and then I've got a USB charger and a plug socket, and then over there's also another USB, and those are USB type A's. Again, I'd have just liked to have seen a USB type C, to be honest. We have the open shelving area as well here, more cupboard space, a sunroof that opens with the blind and the fly screen. Then there's a little shelving unit as well, just over there on that near side as well. And light switches easily found again under the cabinets there and under the cabinet on my side. So yeah, fabulous. Now, let me move down. So storage under the beds, under the near side bed. If I open this up, now this is the other cushion for making that double bed back here, and it's nice that there's a strap to actually hold it back. And then under here you've got a bar. You can put items in the bottom. Be careful of that Truma pipe there. And then you've also got access to your fresh water tank if you need to get in there and give it a clean out. So that's storage under the bed. This is what I mean about these clasps. Had to be a little bit firm with that one. And then under the bed, there's a little lip here. Now, this was something I wanted to test because you can lift these to get into here. Now, because I've now put a sheet on here, because these mattresses split, I just wondered how easy it would be to reach in there. And it's not a problem. That's still quite lightweight, actually. So that's absolutely fine. And then over on the off side, we have further storage here. Now, that blanket is part of one of the bedding sets. But you can see you've got shelving, and then if you drop down, a little bit of storage down there. So that's in there. And then this bed does also lift up as well, and I'll close that. Now under here, if you're wondering what's under these bits, if I lift that up, you've got access here to your grey waste tank if you have to access it to clean it. And then there's a wheel there. If you've got water in your fresh water tank and you actually want to drop some of it but not all of it, enough for travelling, different manufacturers will leave you with a different amount. Most of them are around 20 litres of fresh water, but it just depends on the manufacturer. You twiddle that to open it, and you're going to dump enough water to allow you to drive safely without overladening your motorhome. Make sure you close it back up though when you refill your tank, otherwise it'll just pour out underneath. So that's another thing to check if you have got water coming from underneath your Malibu. And then this one, before we go into our all-in-one washroom, this is storage again in the flooring. This is a sealed compartment, and you can put bits and pieces in there as well. And this is what I mean though, if you've got the carpets, you're going to struggle to get to all these bits, so that's something to think about. Right, I'm going to jump in here, I'll let Jules bring you round and we'll take a look in here. So in I go, and around Jules comes. Now, the door, it goes back into its place. You can see from the side you're at now, when I said about the gap, you can maybe, I don't know what your view is, you can maybe just see out of the kitchen window. But look at this, this is phenomenal. We've really, really enjoyed this motorhome and its layout. When you're wanting to get dressed and changed, you've got all of this space. If you come out of your shower, you can get changed and dried off, whatever you want to do. Really good. And there's loads of headroom. There's not far off 2 metres of headroom in here and loads of space here. And that then leads into the all-in-one washroom. Now again, let's talk about practicality and function. Obviously, you know, most people are going to close the door when using it, but if you've got the blinds up in the bedroom, you can leave the door open. Toilet, we have a Thetford swivel toilet with flush. I've already told you this has the SOG ventilation system fitted. That's been a game changer. I've never tried one before, and for me, big yes. One thing I found though, there's a toilet roll holder here. When I put my full toilet roll on, the seat didn't stay up, so it depends how big your toilet rolls are, so just be mindful of that. And also reaching back there, it can be a little bit of a challenge. I can see why Malibu have put it there though, because if you put it here, you're then actually going to be interfering with your shower. I think even a letterbox style probably wouldn't work, so I can see totally why they've done that. There's an air vent just down there. That does actually blow quite a lot of air on the toilet itself. Whether that could have been put in a more strategic place, I don't know. There's a limited amount of space, and these are just suggestions from trying the motorhome. Let's have a look at this wall here. What I really like again about the Malibu finish and this build, we've got the wood trim wall. We're not just plain white walls. We've got this nice continued finish. There's a chrome rail here for towels, and then we come up to a mirrored cabinet. Again, little push button and open it up. It's a fabulous mirror, and the shelving. There's no bars to keep the toiletries back on that one. And then if I move along and carry on, lighting, again, very good lighting. There is a plug here and a light switch, soap dispenser, and there's been quite a lot of room I've noticed here on the top, the chrome tap, the sink, and because it comes out you do get a little bit more room to use it, and there's no intrusion from a cabinet, so that's good. Fabulous mirror. I mean, this is brilliant. This is very much boudoir-y, I think. I'm very taken with it. And then you've got I've put toothpaste and toothbrushes in there, so you've got holders there. And then we've got 3 shelves. This one actually drops a bit further down. This one's probably been the most useful, and there's a bar to keep things in place. Anything taller, this won't go in. This I've had to lay down in that cupboard, so it just gives you an idea of thinking about where you're going to be putting things. And then just under here, we have another storage cupboard. Loads of room in there, so plenty of space to put towels and loo rolls and bits and pieces. What I have found is the toilet is quite high. It's like a pedestal height, as you can probably see from the floor. So it is quite high for somebody my height. However, there's plenty of room around it, and we've been able to close the door, not a problem. It isn't all in one with the shower. So the shower, there's a press stud up here, pop the press stud, and then the shower screen's going to move around you. So you're going to slide that around you. What I would suggest is, before you do that, if you pull this out, there's another door here. This is going to come across, and it's going to protect your cabinet, if you can see that there. Then you're going to close the remainder around you. You can see on the floor where that's going to go. 2 plug holes, and then the chrome shower itself. Really nice. So chrome shower there, and what you might not be able to see at this point, I'll just close that again, is in this corner section there's 2 shallow depth shelves, so you can put your shower gel on there when you're actually using your shower, and then when you're finished, obviously put your press stud back in. These shower screens, again, I like the function and the system. They maybe just feel a little bit wobbly. I'd like to have seen just maybe a bit of a better build quality on those, and that's part of my 8 out of 10 marking scheme. But that's my bathroom space. There's somewhere as well to hang wet towels. This does open this sunroof, blind and fly screen. But in summary, fabulous bathroom. We've been really impressed with that. And this dressing room space, which is sort of unique to Malibu, absolutely brilliant. Excellent size beds, lots of storage back here, and lovely and warm on a night. Let me close that up. So that's that part of the motorhome. The tower fridge and freezer, I think that's an ample size again for the size of the motorhome. Nice functioning kitchen. I'd have just liked to have seen a cut off there. This lounge, absolutely fabulous. This has been brilliant. Really comfortable. The choice of fabrics, you can choose your own. There's one other option that I'll mention. If you don't want the 4 berth and you don't want this drop down bed, you can opt for this in a 2 berth. There'll be the omission of the drop down bed, and instead you'll have cabinets running all the way along. So it'll be a flat finish as such. It'll just continue round. So they'll come across at the top there. So that is an option if you wanted not to have this. I'd also imagine if you didn't have the drop down bed, it'd give you more of a feeling of height above you as well when you were driving. So that's just another thing as well. Let's just dive out and have a summary, because I'm going to tell you about the rattles. So there we have it. That is the Malibu I 430 KB LE, an integrated motorhome from the German manufacturer Malibu. In terms of models, there's a number of models in the range on integrated and semi-integrated based on Fiat and Mercedes, both with the lightweight chassis and the comfort chassis if you want that 4.2 tonnes. What have I thought to it? Well, the first question I had was about integrated. What do I actually think to it? I've really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the view out when I'm driving, the view out as well when I'm sat in there, the additional headroom and the space around me. The compromises are potentially heat loss through the windscreen, and I believe to replace a windscreen can be quite expensive. But the view as well with the wing mirrors, fabulous mirrors as well. So good all-round vision. I would say I'd have to think whether the integrated or the semi-integrated won it over for me now, so it's been really useful to test it out. The other thing that I wanted to know, the Malibu Integrated range, 2.17 meters wide on paper, which is sidewall to sidewall. However, bumper to bumper at the back, we're at around 2.24 meters. That's still considerably narrower than a standard semi-integrated motorhome, and it's only a little bit wider than a genuine compact motorhome. Will it be an alternative to a camper van though? No. That width is definitely going to be a no, but it's an agile vehicle to drive, and this 430 at this length has been fabulous. The other question I had was Malibu build quality. Well, I would agree that this has got a solid build quality. It is a premium motorhome, and for the other manufacturers that it's going up against, it's definitely going to be competing. What about rattle? I'll be honest, I noticed quite a bit of rattle on the Fiat. Whether it's different on Mercedes, I don't know. There was some rattling involved, and what we're going to do is go to a clip of that now. This is Jules and I in the Malibu. So there we go. That's an example of what we heard. Now, I'll be quite straight up with you. That rattle is definitely not as bad as many other manufacturers. I would say I'd put that on a par with our previous Adria ownership. So that'll give you an idea of where that rattle is. I would say in terms of noise when you're on the road, it's still going to be giving a solid 7 to 8 out of 10. As I say, could it be different on the Mercedes? I don't know. But hopefully I'll be able to test it and find out. But otherwise, once you're parked up on site, this is an absolute winner. So there we go. Hopefully you've enjoyed I know I've gone on, but this is the idea. It's a proper in-depth review of this Malibu. And I'd say most of the features I've pointed out will probably be similar across the range. I'm hoping it's helped you make more decisions about whether you're looking to buy a Malibu, an integrated motorhome, a compact motorhome, and just answer some of those questions that we may have all had. I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to put all the links in the description so you can check out Malibu, Maple Leisure, who we have loaned this from as a demo vehicle. This is actually currently for sale. It is a pre-registered model, tried and tested by me only. And it's currently £95,000. On paper, it's over £115,000. So on the 2025 pre-registered, that's quite a motorhome for the price. I don't think that'll be there for long. So thank you to Maple, and thank you to Malibu UK as well, who also linked in with us earlier this year. Thank you to Overbrook Caravan Park, where we are near Pickering, where we filmed this video. This is a beautiful site. We've enjoyed our stay here. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.